He's the man, he's a myth, he's a legend, and he's also in our studio, Mr. Ray Risling, also known as the Marathon Man and Runnin' Ray. Thanks so much for coming down to the studio, Ray.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I want to talk about the legendary running career that you've had. You started in the Masters all the time at age 41.
You remember
that? You were just a celebrity.
You didn't live too far from my house.
At the time. Tell us how you got involved in running and what that led to over 100 marathons.
Yeah, running when we were on the farm, we had a lot of cattle. We had a ranch and stuff like that. We had to catch a calf once in a while and put it like this and put the brand on. Mm-hmm. And I went to a country school. Mr. Andrew Zadig, he was from...
oh, boy.
Yeah, he was from Saskatchewan. And it was his first school. He was 19 years old. And he taught in the... Yeah, you've got it there.
I've got the picture here.
Yeah, that's Andrew Zadig.
Yep.
And that's his wife, and that's the Sports Hall of Fame.
I'll just hold it up. Sports Hall of Fame. And that's something that you're in, is the Sports Hall of Fame.
Yes. I got selected into the Sports Hall of Fame, and that they had a big deal at the field house, and my dad, he was my former teacher, up to grade 8.
Wow.
And Mr. Zadig. And so when the night we had the inauguration in the Sports Hall of Fame, I had invited him to make sure he's going to be there because he was my mentor.
Yep.
He let me pitch ball in school in the primary. He let me, we hunted together. There was a different kind of teacher than you see now.
Yep.
And so I invited him and his wife to the Sports Hall of Fame at the field house. It was packed. There was lots of people there. And so it was my time to shine. And I ran, like you say, I ran in the 40 plus. When I started, but I was in all the sports. In Saskatchewan we had kickboxing lessons when we were doing the broom ball. Mm-hmm. Only the faint at heart would play that game. Many RCMP had to take us apart on the ice many times. And many times I would tell the RCMP when they come jump on the ice, I said, leave your cap here. And I hope there's some RCMP still maybe alive that were in those days, like Bruno and Humboldt. That's
that area.
Tough country.
Yeah.
But I knew all the boys from those teams. Playing fastball at Gordie Howe Park, I would be playing against them. But when we played broomball and hockey, we were enemies.
So that was how the running came to be then, was because of the farm and everything through school and all the sports.
Yeah, when I go home from the school in Revenue, that was the sister school, I wouldn't run along the road. I ran cross country. That's where cross country got the name, I guess. And you know why I had to run fast and jump high? Because barbed wire fence. They were just on the outside of my running, like my height, and I would run and jump over the fence. I had to get over the fence. And I had only 2 fences to cross, but that was enough. In the morning, I drove my I bought a motorcycle then, so I wouldn't have to, a 42, 45 Harley knucklehead. That bike, I restored it from wheel to wheel. I put all new, the motor and everything. I was a mechanic. People would come to me to restore their bikes. But I said, you might not be satisfied. I said, at least some parts out. I give a little wink. And
so then from the younger years in sports. At age 41, you started with the marathon, and it took, 20 years for you to reach the 100 mark.
Yeah,
100
it was.
marathon.
I had to run a lot because some that had been running since they were 18 and 19 and 20. I started marathoning. It wasn't new to me. Sports. I lived for sports.
Yep.
For punishment. So a marathon seemed easy to me. I don't have to fight. I just run and I make my own way. And I remember starting at the University of Saskatchewan, where I was employed for 41 years, the chief medical technologist. I ran with guys from the field house, and I knew them from hockey a little bit and that. And they said, you should take up running. I said, what do you mean take up running? And they just said, well, start training for marathons. I said, I can do it right now. I said, you guys are, I said, you're just like young children.
Sure.
I said, you have to train and run. I said, if you want me to run a marathon now, tomorrow, I'll go run it.
Sure, 2 cups of coffee and a Mars bar, and I'm in.
Exactly. So I started running with the physical education.
Sure.
They were the same guys I play hockey with. And so we're running with them. I think the first run I ran with it was 10 miles. And I come back before they did. They said, who in the hell are you? And I said, I'm just an ordinary guy. I said, I like to run. And I said, and hunting. I said, when I hunt geese, I chase them down.
Yeah.
And I said, I live in nature. And they said, you should take up a running. So anyway, I started running, and I think the furthest I ran was probably about 14 miles, and I went into the marathon right away. And I ran a pretty good time. And from the field, from the Griffith Stadium.
Yep.
But I had run one marathon because we didn't have a marathon in Saskatchewan in 1979. So I went to Regina with George Reed. He signed my finish card. So I ran my first marathon in Regina. And George Reed signed mine. I shook his hand. I didn't know much about him. Turned out he was the greatest football player of all time. And the next year I ran in Saskatoon competitively. And they were wondering who that guy was. He's really footing it out there. And so I didn't feel that was a great feat. Like I'd done all those sports, and every one was a punishing one. I could do it with ease. I was just mentally strong.
So when you had, the 100 mark, how many marathons have you run in total? Do you know?
In total,
Yeah.
I've got 116 marathons somewhere.
116.
116.
Yeah. And these are, there's some traveling that you've done as well. There was Chicago and New York.
Yeah, I've done, after I was running around here and doing small marathons, and I think almost my third marathon was in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the College of Medicine, and I made my own way. I'd fly out at night, fly back in the morning. Denny Carr phoned me in Boston. Denny was running too, just pleasure running. And I said, he said, I'll phone you in Boston when you're ready to leave to come back to Saskatoon. That was the only time I didn't come back the same night. So Denny Carr phoned me, and we had a little chat on the CFQC, and we talked about the running, and I said, I met Bill Rogers, like the world's biggest runner. I said I met him hand to hand. I said it was very interesting. And so I said, today it was a holiday. I didn't have to go to work. Otherwise, I couldn't come here. I'm the only guy that works in the physiology and pharmacology. And I flew back and set up my laboratory for Tuesday morning. And Danny Carr and we met on the trail the next day. He said, "You're running already?" I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "You can't be sitting down on your ass for that long." Pardon the expression. And so we'd run there, but Danny Carr was just pleasure running. He'd go about 3 or 4 miles, just runs, and I was like this. I go like this, and he'd go like that.
So there's a good camaraderie that you had with some of the running teams, I guess.
Oh yeah, I had just about everywhere where I went, every city. I started having friends.
Mm-hmm.
Even policemen, I had friends. I ran in Vancouver even when they had the big Commonwealth Games there in '86. That's when I started in Vancouver. And I came to the airport with Air Canada. The guy that got me the ticket, he worked for Air Canada, and we ran a little bit together, nothing serious, and he put me on the plane. So as I said, when I got to the Vancouver International, I said, I'm carrying my running bag, and an RCMP officer, he came and he said, "If I'm running the marathon tomorrow in Vancouver," I said, "Yes." I said, "Who are you, sir?" And he said, "I'm on the RC." He wasn't dressed in the RCMP, and he said, "I'm running the marathon." He said, "I'm with the RCMP." He said, "I'll take you for a coffee. We can talk." And we went with the RCMP car. We drove down there, and we had a coffee, and we talked about marathoning only. And he said, "I had to catch a few guys already." He said, "They jump over the fence and run." He said, "I would catch and I'd take them down." He said, "I weigh 128 pounds." Mm-hmm. I said, "You're too heavy." So anyway, I got to run with the RCMP officer maybe about 6 or 8 different marathons. He invited me to stay at his house. And so that's how I started running 14 consecutive marathons in Vancouver, not missing any. I ran 20 years in Winnipeg, 14 years there, 15 in Calgary, all in succession, no missing. It was, I call it a running habit.
I love your stories, Ray. I can't imagine the amount of training that you've had and enjoyment that you've shown. You're a regular fixture. We've even had a Ray Risling Day. I want to thank you for coming on to the show today, and all the best of luck for your health and many, many more running and marathons ahead of you.
It was a real pleasure to have this.
Thank you, Ray. Yep, we'll see you again.
You got a good grip.
Good.
I played 54 years of hockey.
Oh, yep.
And I owned 6 hockey teams, like the NHL.
Yep.
I made a whole league in Saskatchewan. Turned out to be the old timers.
Yep.
But 42 wasn't the very old timers. We were still okay.
That's our show for today. I'd like to thank our guest, Roxanne Dick with GTNT, as well as the Marathon Man, Running Ray Risling. I'm your host, Randy Shabilo. We'll see you next time on Connect.